Hey YouTube, it's Marita from the Nurse Lounge, and today we are going to do a video on postpartum nurses and doctor relationships. What's it like to deal with an OB doctor? How are we treated? If you want to know what my opinion is, stay tuned. All right, so we're going to jump right on in. My name is Dr. Marita P. I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for going on 16 years. I'm an OB/GYN, well baby, nursery nurse, and a nurse educator and nurse mentor. I'm here today to talk about what a relationship is like with the OB docs and how are we getting along. And I want to preface this by saying that this is not 100% true everywhere in the world when it comes to doctors in general. OB docs. There are wonderful OB physicians out there who treat every nurse as if they are the world to them. There are OB docs who definitely understand that they are nothing without their good nurse. And I said good nurse, okay? They are nothing without their good nurse. However, there are some physicians that do have this doctor complex. And this doctor complex is such that, you are beneath me and you will do what I say to do and you don't know anything. I tell you what to do and you go do it. And I'm here to tell you that that does exist in the OB world. I personally feel that when it comes to postpartum nurses, that we are the stepchildren of the unit. And you've never heard me say that before, but I do feel that when it comes to OB specifically, the L&D nurses are the coveted ones because why? They're the ones who are actually helping the physician in terms of laboring the patient down and things like that. The nursery nurses have the pediatricians that come in and see, so they have someone in which they engage with. If you have a nursery, if you have a mother-baby unit, then the couplet unit, then one nurse does have to deal with both physicians, the pediatrician and the OB. And so I do feel like there's times where the postpartum nurse is truly the stepchild of the entire unit. These nurses get left out of everything. We don't, we may get what's left of the peppermints. We may get what's left of the Nurses Week celebration things. And of course, night shift gets nothing. We know that. But I will say relationship-wise, OB relationships with the docs are contingent upon several factors. And the factors have to involve how much rapport have you built with this physician. There are physicians who will not like you no matter what you do. And if you are not, let's just say, strong in your, if you're not strong in what you do, if you are not knowledgeable, if you forget to do things, if you are flighty, as we call some of these nurses, these physicians are not going to like you because they are entrusting you to take care of their patients. They don't want to be called all the time about, oh, my patient needs a colace. First of all, call them. If the order says they have a colace, that is not urgent. Don't call for no reason, okay? A colace is not urgent. What you could do is simply, when that physician makes rounds, depending on what time that is, then simply say, hey, your patient needs a colace, it fell off somehow or wasn't ordered, whatever it happens to be, can we order it? Do it that way. If you build rapport with your physicians, they treat you typically a lot better. Again, I have ran into several physicians where, as a nurse, especially when you're the new nurse on the block, you don't know anything. Who are you? Why are you taking care of my patient? I need a real nurse taking care of my patient. I've heard that before, as if I'm not a real nurse. I'm a registered nurse, so therefore I am more than capable of taking care of your patients. However, if your orders are wrong, then it is a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a story time real quick about a situation that I had with a physician and how over the years He never really cared for me at the end, but that he respected me, and that's kind of what I really wanted. I don't care about him liking me. It's about respect. So when I first started the hospital that I'm actually still at, so I've been at that hospital for going on 15 years. When I first started, I was probably about 18 months out of school, and I was in orientation and I was on night shift. And there was a nurse that I was working with. Her name was Debbie. And Debbie was training me. And when she trained me, she, forgot to tell me that this physician likes a certain thing done a certain way. And he was a physician that did not want his catheters removed unless he said to remove them. However, this was the issue. All the other physicians, it was just understood the catheters came out at the 24-hour mark or around 6 o'clock in the morning. It was just a standing order. He never changed his orders to say that, but you just had to know that because you had to know him. Well, I was the new nurse on the block, so therefore I did not know, and I pulled the catheter out because that's what the order actually said that he wrote. He had put in his order. So when that physician goes to make rounds that morning, he was there early and he goes to make rounds, and he comes to the nurse's station and says, what idiot nurse took out my catheter on my patient? And at this point in time, I'm 18 months out of school. I'm tired of crying. I'm not scared anymore. And I definitely wasn't scared of him, but he was the doctor that everybody was scared of. They didn't want they tucked their tail and ran type of thing. And so so Debbie, the one who was orienting me, said, oh, I'm so sorry. Do not yell at her. It's not her fault. And I'm like, hold up, Debbie. I said, you don't have to defend me. I said, I appreciate it because she was training me, but you don't have to defend me. I said, because I followed the idiot doctor's orders that said remove foliate at 6 a.m. So that's exactly what I did, was follow the idiot doctor's orders, who was standing right in front of me, mind you, because he called me, the idiot nurse. So I said, what the idiot doctor needs to realize is that you're going to always have new nurses. You're going to have floating nurses. You're going to have travel nurses. You're going to have people who are just doing, they're new as new graduates. And I said, the only thing we as nurses know what to do is to follow the idiot doctor's order. So if the idiot doctor doesn't want his foliates removed at 6 a.m., he needs to take that order off of his orders, his physician orders. So I said, if you have a problem with that, then you need to put the catheter back in. And at that point in time, I knew I was fired. But again, I did not care, and I'm still there 15 years later, so I wasn't fired. And yes, you know what? He had nothing to say to me because he came at me wrong. You don't do that. You don't talk to people like that or talk about people like that, because he knew it was one of us who did it. You don't talk about people like that. So I don't tolerate disrespect from anyone. I don't care if you're a physician or not. So sometimes we have those kind of relationships where the physicians ain't really feeling us nurses because they think we don't know anything or whatever it happens to be. As time went on, over the years, I still could not stand this physician. He's retired now, which is great. But as time went on, I had several infractions with him because he wanted to show his authority as a physician and wanted to make sure that I knew what my role was as a nurse. Now, I have something to tell you all. If you let people make you feel inferior, that's your fault. That's your fault. Because once I get my skill set and I know what I'm doing, I'm a registered nurse at the end of the day. You are a medical doctor, an OB medical doctor at the end of the day. Our scopes are totally different. So I am not beneath you. And I make that known to my physicians. I'm not beneath you. We work hand in hand to make sure our patients are taken care of. And that's what we have to do as registered nurses and as LPNs. As LPNs, you do have to answer to your registered nurse, of course. But at the same time, you still have to make sure that you're respected as a nurse, because you are a nurse as well. You are taking care of patients as well. If you are a CNA, no, you're not a nurse yet, if that's what you choose to do, but you should be respected for your role as a CNA or as a nurse tech or whatever your label happens or your title happens to be. Why? Because you have went to school to learn how to do what you learn how to do. And because you have went to school to do so, you need to make sure that you do your job. Now, mind you, make sure you're doing your job. So you can't be smarting off at people and carrying on if you ain't doing your job right. If you're a slacker, if you're things like that. I'm talking to the people who they do their job. They do their job very well. They're proud that they do it very well. However, they are always considered to be the runt of the group, or they're mistreated because they feel like they're inferior to physicians. I'm here to tell you, you are not inferior to physicians. You're there to learn something. If you don't know how to do something, own it. Say, I don't know how to do it. And, learn how to do it. And once you learn how to do it the best of your ability. Definitely ask questions to your physicians. They may not like you asking questions, but at the end of the day, your patient is still alive. That's what they need to be, alive. Don't be afraid of your physicians in the sense of, well, I've had two situations which I had to call rapid response on patients because the previous shift refused to call rapid response because they were too afraid of what the physician might say or do. Well, the patient almost died. And because I came in and said, okay, if we don't get her off, I called that physician. I said, if you don't get her off this floor, you're going to find her in the morgue tomorrow. The choice is yours, whatever you want to do. And that's my catchphrase. I always tell them that and that's how I get their attention. They know I'm serious when I say that. I'm pretty serious if I say, if you don't come in here today or to give me the orders that I need today or right now, she's going to find her in the morgue tonight, tomorrow, whenever you want to come back and find her. That's where you're going to find her, in the morgue. And in OB, we don't want, not that you want any patient to die, but in OB, we definitely don't want our moms to die because the babies don't have a mama at that point in time. We don't want our babies to die because our mamas don't have a baby at that point in time. It is very important that you in OB world, and really any other world, med-surg, ICU, ER, whatever it happens to be, that you are an advocate for your patient, an advocate for yourself, and make sure that you are governing yourselves accordingly as the nurse that you are, and that you hold your head up high. And if you know what you're doing, own it, demand respect. Now, you can't demand respect yelling at everybody. You can't demand respect when you don't halfway do your job. You can't demand respect when you're late all the time. You can't demand respect when you're not a team player. You can't demand respect when you don't do what you're supposed to do as a nurse. But if you are doing everything you're supposed to do as a nurse, you are competent in your area, and you're made to feel like you are less than because you happen to be a certain kind of nurse or a certain tech or a certain CNA or a certain LPN, I'm here to tell you that it's your responsibility to change that. So again, we don't always get treated well in OB by our physicians. And I'm sure no matter what area of nursing it happens to be, whether it be ICU, whether it be med-surg, whether it be ER, that those same physicians don't treat all of their nurses well either. So this is not just an OB thing. This is a nursing thing. But I want to say to you that if you want to get over that, if you want to, I happen to deal with a lot of hard-nosed doctors. And there's some doctors, I see them coming down the hallway, I just turn around and go completely the other way because I'm not even dealing with the energy today. They have negative energy and I don't want to deal with the energy, so I just go the other way. But in the event that I have to deal with them because this is their patient, I make sure that I deal with them and deal with them accordingly. And I make sure that if I have any orders that I need to get done, I ask them directly. I make sure that, they put their orders in like they're supposed to instead of leaving it for me to do. I'm like, okay, make sure you put your order in. Depending on the situation. If it's an emergency, that's something different, or it just depends on the situation. But again, I want to impress upon you the importance of you demanding respect from your physicians if you have earned respect from your physicians. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, and I know I keep saying this because I don't want you all to think that it's okay to come in here willy-nilly, halfway do your job, don't call orders, don't do your stuff, don't do your interventions, don't do your baths, whatever you need to do, but then you want to call the shots. It doesn't work that way. You have to do your job. And in order to gain respect from these physicians, again, this is not about them liking you. This is about them respecting you. And I'd much rather have you respect me than like me. I'm not at work to make friends. If we do, great. But I'm not there to make friends. I'm here to do a job and go home. So hopefully this video has been insightful for you. It probably sounded like I was yelling at you all. This is something I'm very passionate about. So I'm not yelling, but I'm very passionate about this particular topic because I have seen so many nurses tuck their tails and cry in corners because they were yelled at by a physician. Now, if you were doing something you wasn't supposed to do and you got yelled at, well then that's on you. You gonna get yelled. You know what? Scratch that. You're going to get yelled at regardless. You do the right thing, you're going to get yelled at. You call them about something going on with your patient, you're going to get yelled at. You don't call them when you don't think nothing's wrong, you'll get yelled at. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That is very much a true statement right there. But I do want you to know that you don't need to be crying because that gives them the power that they want to have. For a lot of physicians, especially the male physicians, it's about power. And sometimes for the female physicians, it is about power too. Why? Because they ain't trying to be no nurse. They are doctors. They're not trying to do what you do. So then you have that power struggle between two women, and then you have those issues with that. I don't get into those power struggles with anyone because I know what I do. I know my job and know my job very well as a registered nurse in my area. Now, if I go to med surg or somewhere else, then now I'm like, I don't know what's going on over here. But in my area, I know how to do my job and do my job very, very well. And I hold my head high. I walk as if I do know what I'm doing. When I go into my patient's room, I go into my patient's room with confidence to know what I'm doing, and they see that. You wear your poker face if you have to wear your poker face, even though you're sweating bullets underneath. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative to you. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you would like to follow me on my IG platform, it will be either here or here. It will also be in the box below, and it's also in the banner at the top. If you want to see what goes on in the Nurse Lounge in the IG world, then you have to follow me over there. Also, I know that several of you watch my videos but haven't subscribed yet. I don't know what you're waiting for. Go ahead and subscribe. It is free. We are growing exponentially. I have now reached over 1,000 subscribers, and I thank you all for your continued support on this channel. Definitely comment below anything that you want to see. I do have a business email down below in the box as well. And in that business email, you can send me questions, concerns, whatever you want to do about, whatever you need regarding that. I don't mind answering questions at all. I don't mind giving you advice about what you should do if it's something relatively quick. However, I do tutoring and I do mentoring, and those are fees. Those have associated fees with them, and we can set that up via email, and we will conduct those via Zoom. Of course, if you don't live near me, which is perfectly fine. I'm excited to be offering this service now. And if you happen to need anything like that, definitely email me in that email that's listed below. Until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.